Guten Tag, Herr Pankart.
Guten Tag. I'm so used to that intro music already. It gives me a warm and familiar feeling. Same as this drink. It's a cold and familiar feeling.
My glass is empty, unfortunately.
But actually, it's a bittersweet day since you broke the news to me an hour ago.
Yeah. Well, if anybody who hasn't heard the news or hasn't seen it, Roger Federer officially announced his retirement. An absolute legend of the game. Yeah. Much thanks, Roger. Absolute legend of the game. He'll be playing his last tournament next week in London, the ATP Tour. I think they bring the Laver Cup, which is Europe versus the rest of the world. So that will happen in London. I can imagine those tickets will be flying out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you are planning to fly out to London, Ben, because I've never seen him live. I don't think you said you have either.
Unfortunately not, no. I've seen Nadal. That's the only one of the big three that I've seen.
Yeah, I saw Djokovic, and I was, well, this close to seeing a Djokovic-Nadal final in Madrid, and Nadal had a 3-set tight loss to Tsitsipas in the semi. So then Tsitsipas-Djokovic was the final, which was still it was still fun to watch. But come on, Rafa Djokovic final would have been much, much better. But no, it didn't happen for me.
Yeah, too bad. Are you a tennis player? You probably talked about it before. Have you ever played?
No, I'm not nearly as athletic enough. I mean, I played a little bit when I was much younger, but was never particularly good at it or particularly interested either.
You don't have to be athletic. I'm playing it from time to time as well.
Yeah, but it's a fun sport. It's a fun sport. Maybe I'll pick it up later. There was actually another. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Ben. I don't. If you saw the news, Todd Bowley made an announcement about should we have an all-star game for the Premier League? Would you be in favor of an all-star game for the Bundesliga? And if yes, how would you divide? Would it just be Munich versus Bayern Munich versus the rest of the Bundesliga? Is that how you'd set it up?
Let me answer it with no.
No.
But I mean, I'm not sure if you've seen Jürgen Klopp's reaction to that.
Yeah,
question.
I did.
I think it was.
He said, does he want the Harlem Globetrotters also?
Yeah. And at the end, he's like, "Did you really ask this? Interesting. You're sitting there with this cab and everything, and he's like, tell him to call me once he figured out when exactly to play. It's not like in the US where every league has a 4-month break."
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
we have a comment still on Roger.
Onao Pepo. I hope I didn't butcher it. Onao Pepo, I do. Yeah, the GOAT for sure.
Yes.
My favorite. I was always Roger over Rafa. I mean, Rafa's a legend, no doubt, but I was always Roger.
Fully with you, Adu. Big one. I mean, and by the way, I think it was only a week ago or 2 weeks ago, Serena retired. Now it's Roger. So
True.
Big year for tennis. And also US Open won by a 19-year-old. So it seems like it's happening, right?
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, good finals on both on the men's and the women's. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, where are you going to kick us off with?
First of all, I have to share my screen, which I sometimes forget, exactly
nice.
like in this case. I'm gonna go through them quicker than we typically do, because every time we speak about them, we're like, we have to be quicker with those. And this time I'm trying to do that. First one coming from Tonal, the at-home workout solution that we probably all know. And I don't know how you read the news, but it sounded more like, okay, they're a little bit in trouble and they have to make something happen to like push the status quo, push some growth. The key factors are probably here. I mean, it's 100 million around with a 1.9 billion valuation, a bunch of big investors in there. But here are the key facts. So I'm basically going to read them. There are some ongoing supply chain constraints. I mean, we're all aware of the global situation, and that also affects a hardware company like Tonal. So they need money to solve that in a sense. Then I found this a very interesting mention. It is subject to terms, including the latest investors being paid first if Tonal is ever sold. That I found really interesting. Like they want to have some guarantees for putting the money in.
Yep.
And then some other news on previous rounds and valuation. And what I completely forgot is that I had to let go of over a third of their workforce. So it seems like what we have seen almost 2 years ago with like the big fitness boom, like in COVID times, everybody's rushing to the at-home solutions. Now they're all restructuring and struggling, and Peloton being one example. You're going to talk about this, but Tonal also needing the money for this purpose. I'm going to ask you for your opinion in a bit. Then we have another.
I'm timing you. Remember that.
All right, I gotta speed up here. LiveScore Group got 57.6 million from Ringier AG from Switzerland. Not sure how to pronounce it properly. They do exactly what the name stands for. They provide you with some live news, but they also have the data from the live news or LiveScore that they can use for some betting solutions. They also are into streaming, all of that. So using data to inform you and let you bet and watch games in a proper way. Interestingly, they want to focus on regions where they're already strong at. It's Central Eastern Europe, and they're going to use the funds for exactly that and not going to the potentially lucrative US market or North American market. And then quick one, last one, number 3, a sports community platform, StadiumLive, raises 10 million. What do? They want to bring fantasy sports to the younger generations. And we talked about like what we don't like about the betting industry, and fantasy sports is basically leading to betting at some point. They're going to use all the fancy new stuff like the metaverse and Web3 to lure younger people into their platform. You can create avatars and then do your fantasy sports, all of that. But ultimately, I guess they're going to end up betting in some capacity. These are the 3 funding news. What is my time?
A minute for shit. No chance. I hit pause by mistake.
Yes.
Damn it.
That's the benchmark now.
God, pause by mistake. Anyway, I think we were at about 4 minutes something. That's not so bad. We'll live with that.
Typically, we're slower than that, right?
Yeah. I think that was a bit quicker. Good job. Not much to say. Some interesting companies. Tonal is part of the general, let's say, cautious investor sentiment in the fitness market that we're seeing, but still a big round. So they're somewhat bullish but cautious. I think that's fair to say. LiveScore is a company that I remember from way back when. It used to be the first place where you used to refresh your football scores, and you're going from minute by minute if you're
OG
not in front of a screen. Yeah, exactly. OG of real-time tracking. Good to see them raise that kind of money, but obviously for betting and stuff, StadiumLive looks like an interesting play. So yeah, some cool companies out there.
Yep. And speaking about fitness solutions the sector being cautious, I guess you have something.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So a few months ago, over here, so Zwift had a smart bike. This, I think we covered this also in this first part of the year. I won't go into this article too much, but basically, smart bike that they had announced, the Zwift Tron, which looks very cool. Obviously, fans of the Tron movies will get that reference. Is that music from you?
Oh, it wasn't me. I was just checking the website.
Okay. Anyway, so Zwift had these plans and they canceled them, right? So Zwift is no longer interested in hardware. What they have now done is actually enter the hardware game. Zwift announced a Zwift Hub. Now, what is a Zwift Hub? It's exactly this, what you see on your screen. Basically, a stand that you can put your bikes on. and these are common. There are quite a few companies. Zwift has launched their own device called Hub. It's quite decently priced, $500 if you're in the industry, 500 euros or $500. You might find this fairly affordable. Also, I should point out this is not proprietary. Strictly partnered with a hardware company. Yeah, it's basically a rebadged jet black Volt. I didn't know this company. I'm not into cycling, but people who are from the industry will apparently know that name. It's a very popular product, and so they've openly said that they've rebadged the jet black Volt, and Zwift is going to publish it their own, release it under their own. Product is not ready yet. It will be out there you go. It will be available from the 3rd of October, and you can get it for as low as 20 euros a month. All the other bells and whistles will be there. You can, it's pretty smart apparently. It's controlled from your phone. It's Bluetooth connected. You hook up your screen. You hook up this trainer put your bike onto it. And reading the articles, the main, let's say, underlying principle for this device is for it to be simple. Yeah, Zwift felt that a lot of the other smart trainers out there are difficult or cumbersome for users to implement in their homes, or to install in their homes, and they want this device to be easiest in the market to use and therefore facilitate mass adoption. That's Zwift's goal. But where Zwift goes, Peloton usually follows. Another bit of news, and it feels like it's just one depressing bit of news after another for Peloton every week. I don't know how depressing this is. This may be a changing of the guard, you could call it. But their co-founders, John Foley and Hisao Kushi. John Foley's name I had heard, but Hisao Kushi I did not know. They are officially leaving the company. There will be also the CEO, Chief Commercial Officer, will also leave, Kevin Cornell. So part of their major restructuring since Barry McCarthy took over a few months ago. So they're changing the Peloton's ideology. They're changing the way the product goes to market. It's DIY and it's software driven and all those things that were covered on the show before. And as a result, with that change, or probably as a product of it, the core founding team is now no longer in Peloton. But I'm pretty sure, Ben, with the heavy pockets, because these guys would have made quite a nice study.
Yeah.
From the
100%. And I mean, spot on analysis. Yeah, just adding. I mean, they've been facing, let's say, harsh criticism for quite a while now. I think there were some investors, putting up some pressure for them to leave, and this is the result. And yeah, like you said, it's not necessarily something bad or depressing. Can also be a chance. Clearly, it seemed like they did not have the solution to the problems that Peloton has had for quite a while now. So maybe some fresh blood, some fresh vision will help.
Yeah, but just if nothing else, a shout out to a couple of guys who created a multi-billion-dollar company. Peloton at its peak was worth 50 billion. And that's no joke. Absolutely insane.
I mean, it was the absolute benchmark for a while. Everybody knew that. I mean, still knows that name. It's almost a household name, at least in the US, I would say.
Yeah, so, and the Peloton for X was its own B2B. I mean, when you can create that kind of language, you've created a lot of impact, clearly.
Exactly.
All right, Ben, on to your favorite topic. Well, another bit of news.
But questioning the impact, though, contrary to Peloton. I mean, it has everything that I like. It's collectibles. It's I think it's also, is it blockchain? I have to double check. Not sure if they're actually connecting it with potentially NFTs as well. Whatever. Derek Jeter, you know that guy. He after his retirement, he's engaged with a bunch of different businesses, has founded some, all of that. And his latest venture is a company in the trading card industry. It's a new platform called Arena Club. And amidst the ongoing collectible boom, they are promising to do something interesting, which is first and foremost you sending your collectibles I think they're mostly talking about cards, and I still hope that they're gonna switch to tickets at some point. That's my bet since a while. So you send in your collectibles, your cards, and then something interesting happens. And I'm not sure if anybody has solved that topic yet. They are gonna grade your cards with the help of AI. So something that a bunch of other companies are doing manually. That's why they have such a big backlog in this boom cycle, and this is why it takes forever to grade your card. They want to do it digitally with the help of AI, which, I mean, just by listening to it, is clear that this is not an easy thing to solve. I don't know if there's multiple steps to that, but yeah, that's their secret sauce, it seems. And then they can also they can store your cards for you. Something that a lot of platforms like that are offering to have a vault, or they send it back to you in this, what do you call this, slab or something. Yeah, it's not. I think it's not blockchain based yet, even though they keep talking about bringing it to the digital world. But I can totally see an offering in that space as well. Yeah, and I think Derek Jeter has had or was involved with one or two NFT projects already. Have you read anything about NFTs in particular, or that it is something digital already? I think they've mentioned that you can show your collection, basically. Maybe that's the digital part, but it doesn't necessarily have to be on the blockchain, right?
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's a blockchain play, at least as you rightly said. I didn't read anything from these early articles, but maybe there will be some connection down the line. I think my only question was, are there, I mean, because you see, we covered it last week, about a platform which is a vault. I guess there are quite a few, but are there that many really valuable cards? Because these have to be stored somewhere, right? I mean, is there enough market for each of these guys to be so big and raising so much money? And I don't know. I guess the collectibles market will continue to grow.
I think it's not a winner takes it all, but it's going to be a few select ones, and
Yeah.
it's not captured yet. And yeah, I mean, you have a large span between classic Web 2 offerings with, okay, with storing your physical cards and you can trade them, up to you're basically just selling the NFT, and it can be fractionalized and all of that. And I think in that spectrum, you have a bunch of options, and I believe that there are a couple companies who are gonna succeed. But until that race is not decided, I think it's worth trying.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. We've seen companies like Alt, we've seen companies like PWCC, who we covered last week. I mean, there are quite a few players. Let's see what if Jeter can smash this one out of the park. All right. Should I keep going?
Seeing something being smashed out of the park could also be the topic of
My
Phoenix.
next segue, Ben, you jumped in on my segue. Yeah, to watch it sail out. No, so it's actually a cool piece of tech. Normally we don't do startup partnership announcements, but actually, yeah, I think when you put it on there, and I read it as well, I think this actually looks like a pretty cool one, and I'm going to try to play the video, which always goes shit from my system, but
yeah,
we'll
your
give
voice is
it a
going to
try.
break down for sure.
Yeah, maybe. Let's see. But okay, so I'll explain what this is. So first of all, Tobii and Headvantage are two separate companies. Tobii does eye tracking software, and Headvantage is basically like a really smart streaming platform. They do compressed streaming. So they combined, and Headvantage was part of the NBC Comcast Sports Accelerator. Yeah, which I think we've covered quite a bit on this show. So they come with some pedigree, and they have some good connections with NBC Sports and Sky Sports as well. So what they're doing is basically the little tiny device. I'm going to play it here. I hope you can
Shall I play the video
cut
maybe?
the volume. Maybe you can try. I don't know if you can see it already. Yeah, it's probably
That's good. It's good, I think.
not playing very well. So maybe, yeah, Ben, if you can play it, I'll. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
one
okay.
second.
I don't know if you can see the camera.
Let me play it. You can pause yours. I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
Wait a sec.
Okay. Anyway, so there is there you go. So there you can see the camera that okay doing this thing. I'm gonna turn off. I'm gonna turn it off on my side. There we go. That should be fine. Okay, cool. So you can see a little camera on this guy's cap, not right now, but when he was talking about the story. And this guy is a fighter pilot. The videos details the journey of the company. But essentially, what this camera does is that it's pointed at your eyeballs. Apparently, it's capturing 100 data points in 1 second, which sounds insane. So it's capturing, as it is through that, it's tracking. It's tracking where the athlete's eyes are moving, and then also you can see where the actual object of the athlete is looking at, where it goes. So it's broadcasting, but giving you not just the perspective of the athlete, which is super powerful, but actually giving you what the athlete is looking at. Now, we've seen a couple of solutions do this in the past, but I think not something as clean and easy as this. You can see that device is so small, it sits very easily in a cap or a helmet. And I think this is powerful for a number of reasons. They've taken the broadcast use case to make it more immersive. Broadcast everywhere is trying to bring the fans closer and closer to the action. We've seen different types of audio feed, we've seen different types of body cams, but now you can actually see, or you can imagine, or not imagine, but you can actually see what the athlete is seeing on field or what they're looking at, which becomes very powerful, right? So you're seeing their point of view, but you're seeing specifically where their eyes are pointed, which I think is very powerful. So for me, the angle is two-pronged. They talk a lot about it in the broadcasting use case to make the experience more immersive, but also from training. There was one small bit in this video where one athlete talks about skateboarders or extreme sports athletes, that when they make a jump or when they perform a particular action, like it was a small thing, but the athlete is looking at the top of the ramp. But very often beginners or younger amateurs are looking at their feet or looking at different points. They're losing their orientation. So it gives you better focus or a better idea of what the pro athletes are doing. So it can be a training tool as well, which I think is pretty powerful. But overall, I think as an immersive experience, it would be super cool to see. Ben, my question to you is, which sport would you want this to be implemented with first?
It's funny because I wanted to say two things. First was, what about the performance angle? So that was in my mind, which you answered. And then I wanted to ask you which sports would you pick for it. So thanks for taking that away from me. No, I have my answer pretty straightforward. It's American football, and I would especially like to see the quarterback's perspective.
Quarterback, yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, as we all know, they have very good, what's it called, peripheral something view,
peripheral vision,
peripheral vision, and they don't even have to look into a certain direction, or just for a split second they see a lot in that without looking somewhere. So I would really like to see what they really see and where they're throwing the ball, and I think that would be pretty cool to see, actually. What about you?
American football for you. For me, I would say I have to see a penalty kick, like and like just
From
in that
whose
moment.
perspective?
From both, ideally. I don't know how you can give a footballer a cap or something, because in football you don't have headgear. So but like the whole Jorginho is looking like, where does he actually look at that final moment? I think that'd be cool. That'd be cool to see.
And for how long? Like, what's how much time between, let's say, the last look and the shot, basically?
Exactly. I think I would just put a cap on him and make him take penalty. Fun to see.
Yeah, true that. All right. Probably time to come to our last topic of the day. And yeah, we are talking about Apple and their new watch. And as you know, Ron is not an Apple fanboy, so let's see what he's going to comment on it. Last week Apple had a big event, new iPhone, new watches, and something that is completely new in their portfolio is an Apple Watch for extreme athletes. And like in a nutshell, it is made for all kinds of extreme sports, and therefore you need different kinds of features. And I think the easiest thing is to go through a a bunch of stuff that is mentioned in the article. For example, aerospace titanium, most rugged heavy-duty watch. It has a bigger and brighter display, which you of course need if you are in the sunlight. Speaking about duration, comes with 36 hours of battery life. They're going to introduce a new feature later this year, which pimps it up to 60 hours. There is a compass on the face, improved GPS capabilities. So while I'm reading this, it probably makes sense to you that these are features that are needed in extreme sports situations. You can customize all of that. Better visibility in the dark, not only in bright surroundings. Depth feature that monitors the distance and temperature when you are underwater. And then there are special bands that, as Apple says, can be used in certain environments. So a bunch of stuff. And if you go to the respective website on the Apple page, they of course have beautiful picture where they explain all of that and throw in some more technical terms. For example, it's water resistance is 100 meter. It's tested to whatever this is, and it is IP6X dust resistance, and so on and so on. You get a bunch of different more details on that website. All in all, Apple provides for the first time a watch that is made for extreme sports, has covered a bunch of stuff. And of course, that watch is more expensive, significantly more expensive, I think twice as much as the standard model. But what I probably like the most is not mentioned in this article, because I've seen part of that keynote last week. I'm not sure if you've seen it as well. They're having a car crash detection feature, which is great. I believe that can also be used when doing sports. But they have this very cool emergency call feature where you don't even need to have a cellular connection. It is connecting you to a satellite, and typically, therefore, you really have to point towards the satellite specifically. Not entirely sure if this is also for the watch or just for your phone, but I can imagine that they are going to build it into the watch as well. So there's this app that exactly shows you how to point your device to the satellite, and then, which is really cool, they walked you through it, like if the signal is like really, really weak and you cannot send, like, I don't know, high amount of data through satellite, they first walk you through the most important questions, like, okay, is somebody injured? Where exactly are you? And a bunch of other stuff. It's a multiple choice questionnaire. And then they transport that information to either an emergency station that is close by, or, and I think that's also pretty cool, to some sort of Apple call center that takes that information and finds out who to call in that area. I think that is pretty cool. Not sure if it's connected to the watch, but I'm sure it's going to happen at some point. Long story short, for all the extreme sports people out there, I'm sure they're going to like it. But what was funny, just one more thing, is I think Garmin commented on the Apple News of up to 60 hours battery life. They said, so we are measuring our battery life in months and not hours. Mic drop. That I liked a bit. So, I don't expect too much enthusiasm on your side, but what do you think?
No, I thought it was pretty cool. I saw the video. That's all I saw, which is on the website, and it basically creates 4 scenarios. There's somebody in the desert, in the mountains, in snow, obviously a freezing environment, and underwater with scuba, and how the watch has functionality specific to each of those environments, which look pretty insane. So the watch itself, catering to a very niche market, has a bunch of features, very cool ones, like you said. Actually, I have a question, which is that if I were to upgrade, which I'm actually thinking about doing, I've had this Fitbit for a couple of years now, so I've been thinking about upgrading to a different smartwatch or something else. So my question was, would you now buy another smartwatch, or would you go for a ring as your primary, let's say, fitness tracker, And if you're using a ring, then what do you use on your watch? Is it just a showpiece to tell you time, or do you actually want all of this functionality? Because I mean, you're not an adventure sports guy, neither am I. So yeah, come on. Let's not even going for a trek up in the Cape Town mountains doesn't exactly count.
I bought a harness. I was wearing a harness and using a carabiner to secure myself on these trails.
Okay. Well, if you own a harness, I will give you that a little bit. I'll give you a little bit.
I mean, it's not so unusual in Berlin to own a harness, but in a different context, I would say.
True. Berlin's an interesting city. But yeah, my question remains: would you invest in if you had a device, if you were buying a device for say $200-300, would you buy? This is $800, so this is different. But would you buy a smartwatch now, or would you buy a ring?
If I wouldn't have a smartwatch, then I would go for a watch.
Because you still think that is much more. It's more utility that you drive, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, it's personal opinion, obviously. No, I like that I can do everything with it, and that I can leave my phone at home, so I can make calls, for example, right? I can see my text messages. It's basically helping me to avoid my phone, and I think it's probably it can track more and better. I'm not entirely sure if that's true, but that I would expect. But it sounds like you're playing with the thought of buying a ring.
Yeah, I genuinely am.
I thought you're not that type.
The ring type, yeah, I know, but I just thought that it was worth checking out. I mean, it's tough to say I'm going to check out something and spend I think it's €300 or something. So it's not really just a checkout kind of device. It's maybe a bit on the pricey side, but I think there's something about that about
company expenses.
Yes. We'll put it on the list along with the VR glasses, and we'll see whether that happens finally by 2025 or something. But yeah, that was the only debate in my mind. But no, coming back to the Apple product, I'm pretty sure I won't buy an Apple Watch or this watch, but it does look pretty cool. Apple upping their game in the smartwatch segment.
Just one thing, because I think it's an interesting topic. I've always been curious about Ura's ring. Especially for sleep tracking, because I'm wearing my Apple Watch every night, and it's always a weird feeling to have this watch and sleeping on the watch, a Wi-Fi connected device and all of that. Especially for sleep tracking, I would prefer the ring. But
actually, that is number one. Absolutely, 100% agree. I think you get better. By most evidence, you get better data from that ring. Number two, I used to like wearing watches, and now I'm stuck with this Fitbit, which is like pretty plain looking. So, I mean, I don't have much of a collection, but I have a couple of pieces that I want to wear out. And even if I'm going out for dinner now, like I want to wear maybe one of my nicer watches, I'm like, no, but I'm going to lose my data about my steps, so I don't wear it just for that reason. So I find that a bit strange. I was like, maybe a ring is not a bad alternative.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a decision I'll take.
I'll keep us updated on that thought process. Sweet. Anything else that we need to share this week?
No, that is it. I think that's another week done. And we have more content coming up, but we're going to fill you in on all of that next week.
Yeah, just a quick warning. 2 weeks from now, I will be teaching again. So I'll probably not be here, but next week I still am.
We will not miss you, Ben. Sorry, we will miss you, Ben. Did I say that wrong? No, sorry.
Go play with your ring. All right, everyone. Have a good week. Cheers.